The entire wedding hall went silent when the doors opened and everyone realized the groom was not coming. The bride stood there in a beautiful white dress, holding back tears, while hundreds of eyes watched her heart break in real time. Everyone whispered, everyone judged, but no one moved. And then I walked forward, stood beside her, and said the words that changed both our lives forever. I'll marry her. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of a good heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Echoes of Hope. My name is Aarav, and I never imagined my life would be connected to a moment like that. I was not the hero people later called me. I was just a man who had seen someone's heart being shattered in front of him and could not stand there pretending it was not happening. That morning started like any other important day. The sun was shining through the clouds, the streets were filled with flowers, and the small town of Belmere was celebrating the wedding of a woman everyone admired. Her name was Seraphina. She was known for her gentle smile, her kindness toward strangers, and the way she always helped people even when she was struggling herself. I had known Seraphina for years. We were not childhood sweethearts or secret lovers like stories often describe. We were simply two people who crossed paths at different moments in life. She worked at a small community center, and I often delivered supplies there. Over time, we became friends. She was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday, who stayed late to help someone finish a project, and who smiled even when life gave her reasons not to. But behind that smile, I later learned, she carried a fear that she never spoke about. She had spent years believing that maybe she was not someone who deserved to be chosen. When she met her fiancé, Callan, she thought she had finally found the person who proved her wrong. He promised her forever. He promised her that he saw her heart. He promised he would never leave her. And she believed him. The wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. I arrived at the venue early because Seraphina had asked me to help make sure everything went smoothly. I watched families arrive, children run between chairs, and guests admire the decorations she had spent months planning. But as the ceremony time approached, something felt wrong. The music played. The guests stood. The doors opened. Seraphina walked in. Everyone smiled as she moved toward the altar. She looked nervous, but happy. She looked like someone who had finally reached the place she had dreamed about. Then 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. The smile on her face slowly disappeared. People started looking at their phones. Some whispered. Some shook their heads. I saw her mother, Maribel, holding back tears. I saw her father looking toward the entrance like he could force someone to appear through his disappointment alone. But Callan never came. A message arrived through one of the wedding organizers. He had sent a simple note saying he was not coming. No explanation. No apology. Just a few words that destroyed years of trust. The room changed instantly. The celebration became a place of embarrassment. The flowers that were supposed to represent love now felt like decorations around a tragedy. Seraphina stood there, frozen. Someone tried to guide her away, but she refused to move. She looked at the empty altar and whispered something I could barely hear. He promised. Those two words broke something inside me. Because everyone there was watching her as if she was the failure. As if she had done something wrong. As if being abandoned was something she should be ashamed of. I walked closer. She looked at me with tears filling her eyes. Aarav, please don't, she said quietly. I asked her what she meant. She looked around at everyone and said, don't stand beside me just because you feel sorry for me. That sentence stayed with me. Because she did not want pity. She wanted someone to see her. And in that moment, I realized I had spent years admiring her strength while she had spent years questioning whether she was worthy of love. I looked at the empty altar. I looked at the guests. Then I looked back at Seraphina. And before fear could stop me, I stepped forward. My voice shook, but I spoke clearly. I'll marry her. The room gasped. Nobody moved. Seraphina stared at me like she could not understand what she had heard. I continued, not because I feel sorry for her. Not because this day has gone wrong. I'm saying this because she deserves to stand here knowing someone chooses her. The silence was overwhelming. Her father looked angry. Some guests thought I had lost my mind. Even Seraphina looked at me like she wanted to believe me but was afraid. She quietly said, Aarav, you don't have to do this. And I replied, I know. That's why it matters. But the truth was, I was scared too. I had not planned this. I had never imagined standing in front of everyone making a promise that could change my entire life. And I knew one thing. A marriage built from a moment of pain could never survive unless it became something real afterward. So when the ceremony ended, we did not pretend everything was magically fixed. Seraphina went home with her family. I went home alone. The next morning, the town was full of rumors. Some people called me brave. Others called me foolish. Some said I was trying to become a hero. But they did not know what happened after everyone left. They did not see Seraphina sitting in her empty wedding dress, staring at the floor, wondering how someone could promise forever and disappear in a single moment. They did not hear her ask me, why would anyone choose someone who was already rejected? I did not have a perfect answer. I just told her, because someone else failed to see your value. That doesn't mean you lost it. Over the next few weeks, we spent time together. Not as husband and wife. Not as strangers. Just as two people trying to understand what had happened. We talked about everything. Her childhood. My fears. The dreams we had abandoned. The things we never told anyone. I learned that Seraphina was not weak. She had survived more than most people knew. She had taken care of others while quietly fighting her own battles. And she learned that I was not fearless either. Years earlier, I had lost someone I loved because I was too afraid to say what I felt. I spent years convincing myself that staying silent was safer than risking pain. Maybe that was why I stepped forward that day. Because I knew what it felt like to let fear decide your life. Slowly, the sadness began to fade. The town that once whispered started seeing something different. They saw two people rebuilding trust. They saw friendship turning into something deeper. They saw that love is not always about perfect beginnings. Sometimes love is about choosing someone when life is at its most difficult. 6 months later, Seraphina and I stood in the same wedding hall. The same place where she had been left alone. The same place where everyone thought her story ended. But this time, everything was different. The flowers were simple. The crowd was smaller. And there was no pressure to create a perfect moment. Because we had already learned the most important lesson. Perfect moments are not what make love real. The choices we make after the imperfect moments do. Before the ceremony began, Seraphina held my hand and said, I used to think that day was the worst day of my life. I asked her what she thought now. She smiled and said, now I think it was the day I learned that losing someone who didn't value me made room for someone who did. Those words stayed with me forever. When she walked toward me, I was not thinking about saving her. I was not thinking about being her hero. I was thinking about how lucky I was that life gave me the chance to know her. Years later, people still asked about the day I stepped forward and said, I'll marry her. But the truth was, I did not save Seraphina that day. She saved me too. She taught me that kindness is not a weakness. That broken moments can become beginnings. That sometimes the person standing beside you in your hardest moment becomes the person who changes your entire life. And if this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Echoes of Hope for more stories that remind us of the kindness still alive in the world. Before the ending, I have a special request for you. Comment, "Second chances matter," below if you believe everyone deserves another opportunity to find happiness. Because somewhere out there, someone may be standing in their own painful moment, waiting for one person to step forward. And sometimes, one small act of kindness is enough to change a life forever.